The ghost girl with no face strikes again when she appears to my friend Eric. Welcome to Paranormal Christian. Let's tell stories. So in the last 2 episodes, I've shared with you an incredible thing, a terrifying thing about a ghost girl that appeared to my mom when she was only 14 years old. In the last episode, part 2 of that story, I shared with you about the ghost girl that appeared in my sister's bedroom that my brother-in-law, now he's my brother-in-law, at the time he was sleeping on our couch while his father was in the hospital for a heart transplant, and the ghost girl appeared to him. So I was at my house. At this point, I'm already grown. I'm already married. I have my children. And my buddy Eric is at my house, and I am sharing with him these stories about the ghost girl with no face. And that's when Eric says, "You know what happened to me?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Sure, I've told you." I said, "Eric, I have no idea what you're talking about." He said, "I was spending the night at your house years ago." He said, "I was sleeping in the living room." And he said, "I woke up in the middle of the night." And he said, "Standing by your bedroom door, right off of the living room," he said, "was a little girl in a long flowing gown with long hair and no face." Ladies and gentlemen, what are the chances that spanning all this, that so many people would see the same thing, that didn't know that anyone else had seen it? What do you do with that? Now, here's the funny thing. If you watched part 1 and you know what happened to my mom had told that story for years. We never made a connection until I said to my Mom, Heather saw a ghost girl when she was a little girl. Chris saw the ghost girl when we were all practically grown. We just found out that Eric saw the ghost girl. Mom, do you think there's any connection to this thing and the girl that you saw at Sun and Lake with a long flowing gown, long hair, and no face? Ladies and gentlemen, is it possible that in that seance, which they presumed innocent, that they actually called on something? You know, we've got to be really careful what we call a party game and calling out the spirits. The Bible is very clear about the very real spiritual world that exists around us, God and angels and demons. Do you suppose that they conjured up some kind of a spirit that then followed my mom and followed my mom's family? I've got to tell you one of the weirdest things to cap this off. You know, we have just recently launched this project, Paranormal Christian. And a few days ago, I shared an episode about 2 talking monkeys sitting on our kitchen counter when I was a kid, speaking to each other in an unintelligible chatter. One of the comments on that story was from my very own cousin, who's a few years younger than me, but spent a lot of time at my home when we were growing up. A lot of the kids would come over, we would watch, my mom and dad would, play movies for us and whatever. All the cousins got together. And so my cousin says to me, he comments on that story, and he said, that kitchen always creeped me out. He said, I never liked to walk through that kitchen. He said, after I saw that little girl walk through the kitchen. I immediately commented back to him, and I said, what exactly are you talking about? I said, do you know anything more about this than what you're saying? He said, what do you mean? And so we're going to have another part to this coming up after I talk to my cousin and get his information. But I think that it is more than strange, more than coincidence, that this same description has been given person after person all through the years. What do you think it is? Do you think that a spirit was conjured up in that innocent seance that my mom was part of at only 14 years old, and that spirit has somehow followed my family? I tell that thing to get out in Jesus' name and break whatever trail that thing is following, whatever way that thing's trying to mess with my family. Get out in Jesus' name. I'm curious what you think it is, or if you have had similar experiences. That's one of the most important parts to me about Paranormal Christian, is that people have a judgment-free zone to share their own experience. I'm not offering concrete evidence on the interpretation of it. I just want to hear the extraordinary stories of ordinary people. Right now, would you subscribe and follow us on whatever platform you're watching? We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. Follow us on all of them if you will. Visit us at the website, paranormalchristian.com. Grab a coffee mug while you're there. Grab a trucker cap while you're there. You can wear that thing while you listen to all of these Paranormal Christian stories. And so keep your stories coming and keep them PC.